Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Recently, YouTube has seen a growing fascination with the topic of giants, especially the mysterious Nephilim. But have you ever wondered how these legendary beings reappeared after the Great Flood? In this video, we will delve deep into one of the most intriguing and less discussed questions, exploring accounts from the Holy Scriptures and ancient Jewish and Semitic traditions. Did the giants manage to survive Noah's cataclysm in some way? Or is there something even more surprising behind their reappearance? We will uncover the secrets behind these enigmatic stories and discover what might have happened for these extraordinary beings to resurface. Prepare for a journey filled with mysteries and revelations. Don't miss this content from the channel. How did the giants reappear after the flood? Although there is much debate about the origin of the ancient giants, there is some consensus in the Holy Scriptures. According to these traditions, these beings came from the union of ancient fallen angels with human women, descendants of Adam. According to the account in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, the sons of God took wives from the daughters of men, and from this union came the ancient giants, also known as the men of renown of old. Literally, the fallen angels united with human women, producing a lineage of giant beings. In all the biblical passages that mention giants, they are always portrayed as horrific and monstrous beings, with an impressive height that terrified the inhabitants of the earth, both before and after the flood. These giants are consistently described as malevolent beings, often associated with pagan gods. In antiquity, these pagan gods were, in fact, fallen angels disguised as deities, seeking to receive worship and glory from humans. A lesser-known fact is about the fallen angels, who were the parents of the ancient giants. The Holy Scriptures mention that there was, in fact, not just one angelic fall, but two. The first fall is described in the book of Revelation chapter 12, where it says that the first angel to fall was Satan himself, taking with him a third of the angels, who became the first demons. The second angelic fall occurred at the beginning of humanity, as narrated in Genesis chapter 6. At that time, another group of angels rebelled against God, influenced by Satan, with the aim of corrupting human genetics. These fallen angels united with human women, generating offspring, resulting in a chaotic blend of divine and mortal beings. This event created a new lineage of beings, a sort of third human, who were actually the giants. This interference transformed the pre-flood world into a great confusion, where divine laws were corrupted, giving rise to these hybrid beings, who were different from both humans and angels. Some accounts go even further, suggesting that the fallen angels were audacious enough to corrupt even animals, resulting in mutations that made these animalistic beings even stronger, larger, and more monstrous. This intervention led to a pre-flood world that was deeply corrupted, with humanity and the animal kingdom both severely distorted. The Bible, along with ancient Semitic Jewish traditions, the Book of Jubilees, and even the Book of Enoch, mentions that these giants terrorized the earth. There are records of giant races that not only instilled fear but also practiced cannibalism. This was an era of great disorder and violence, with hybrid and bestial beings creating an environment of fear and chaos. Moreover, the parents of these beings, the fallen angels, were worshipped as gods and continued to be revered after the flood. By associating with human women, these fallen angels also influenced humanity in other ways. They taught men the art of warfare, introduced women to witchcraft and sorcery, and spread various other dreadful practices. Thus, a wide range of magical and occult knowledge was passed on to humans. Women, in particular, began to develop supernatural powers, giving rise to what we now recognize as magic. In this way, the fallen angels not only corrupted human genetics, but also introduced practices that profoundly altered society at the time, leaving a lasting mark on human history. According to the Bible and both the Old and New Testaments, the origin of magic is linked to the fallen angels. These beings taught humanity various occult practices, such as witchcraft, necromancy, divination, and other ancient magical arts. Additionally, according to Jewish traditions, when the Nephilim, the giants born from the union of human women and fallen angels, died, their spirits did not go to either hell or heaven. Instead, they transformed into unclean spirits, wandering the earth. These restless spirits, known as wandering souls, remain among us, perpetuating their influence in the world. The spirits of the Nephilim, considered a lower demonic classification, were part of a hierarchy of demons. Within this hierarchy, there were various divisions, with some Nephilim spirits being more powerful than others, to the point of manifesting as certain entities. This gave rise to many stories of apparitions and ghosts in antiquity, and even in the present day. Unlike fallen angels, these spirits are the remnants of the giants of the past. The intriguing question that arises is, how did these giants reappear after the flood? This question is fascinating and piques curiosity, especially since the answer can be found in the sacred scriptures. In the book of Genesis itself, there is an explanation of how the giants re-emerged after the flood, which continues to be a subject of great interest and debate to this day. Consider now the reading of Genesis chapter 6, Genesis 6:4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. As we analyze the verse, there is a clear chronology highlighting the presence of giants in two distinct periods. The text mentions that there were giants before the flood, indicating that the Nephilim existed during that time. Additionally, the verse also states that these beings were still present sometime after the flood. Therefore, the chronology reveals that the presence of the Nephilim was not limited to the period before the flood, but also continued after that event. The verse specifies that the sons of God had relations with the women of the pre-flood era, and similarly also had relations with women after the flood. This suggests that, even after the cataclysm, the influence of the Nephilim persisted, manifesting again on earth and generating a continuity of this hybrid lineage. According to the biblical text, the fallen angels continued to have relations with human women after the flood, generating a new generation of giants. The verse in question mentions that in the pre-flood era there were giants, and this presence was confirmed both before and after the flood. This means that even after the great destruction, the Nephilim returned and generated another generation of giants. Specifically, verse 4 indicates that although all the giants before the flood were destroyed, a new group of giants emerged sometime afterward after the flood. This reveals a continuity in the presence of these hybrid beings, with new giants arising after the cataclysm due to the persistence of the influence of the fallen angels. With the return of the fallen angels involving themselves with human women after the flood, giants emerged again along with the practice of magic. The fallen angels transmitted knowledge of magic, causing magical practices to reappear soon after the flood. However, there is a less widely supported interpretation that suggests some giants survived the flood. According to this view, which is corroborated by some Jewish legends, some giants may have taken refuge in the high mountains or clung to the trunks of ancient cedars, surviving the cataclysm. This theory proposes that, contrary to the total destruction of the giants, a portion of them managed to escape and persisted to some extent after the flood. Some even argue that the giant Og was on Noah's Ark, an idea that lacks biblical support, but is presented by some as a possible explanation for the survival of the giants. However, I agree more with the view that the biblical text clearly indicates the presence of giants both before and after the flood. The continuity of the giants would be the result of the new mixing of beings after the flood, as described in the scriptures. Many people wonder about God's penitence concerning these acts, and it is important to understand what happened in this context. The first penitence of God towards the fallen angels was the Great Flood. The flood served as an example to the fallen angels, demonstrating the seriousness of mingling with the divine creation that God had made. As a result, God destroyed the first generation of Nephilim, exterminating them all. However, even after the flood, the fallen angels repeated their acts of corruption, generating a new generation of giants. Seeing this, God decided to imprison all these fallen angels from the second angelic fall. They were confined in eternal chains, as described in the Epistle of Jude and the second Epistle of Peter, where it is stated that these fallen angels are now imprisoned for the final judgment. Now, if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them into hell, putting them in gloomy abyssal chains with the purpose of being reserved for judgment. After the Great Flood, various races of giants reappeared on Earth. Among the principal races that emerged again were the Rephaim, the Anakim or Anakites, and the Zuzim or Zamzumim. These races were known for their immense stature and imposing characteristics. These giants faced various biblical figures who fought against them. Joshua, David, and Moses are some of the heroes who, according to the scriptures, confronted these giants. These battles played a significant role in the biblical narrative, demonstrating the continued struggle between the children of God and the giants who appeared after the flood. Many people disbelieve the idea of giants reappearing after the flood, claiming that they were merely tall men, which is an incorrect view. In antiquity, there were indeed men of impressive height, such as Og of Bashan, who needed iron beds to support their weight. However, these giants were not simply tall men like those we know today, who reach a maximum height of 7 feet 10 inches and often use crutches. Biblical giants were in fact the offspring of fallen angels, and their nature goes beyond mere height. They represented a hybrid and powerful lineage distinct from the tall humans we know today. Thank you for watching the video about the giants of antiquity. If you enjoyed it, share it with friends and family who are also interested in the mysteries of the sacred scriptures. May God bless you, and see you soon.